for those things to show up. And then you get to look back, and it's an opportunity for regret. But everybody knows we're better than what we just put out there on that field. And that all comes down to me. So that's my fault. And I'm going to do a better job in preparing you. I'm going to do a better job in continuing to push the standard. I'm going to do a better job. I'm trying to push you guys in the mission to go play with speed and confidence.
Whole nation, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of the Renegade Rundown. A few minutes late, I had to corral down some dogs and horses here on the farm, but here we are. It is Miami Hate Week, FMFFM, as we always say. I'm sure we'll spell that out for you a couple times as the show goes on. Florida State, 21-point dogs as they are down in Doak South right now, getting ready for a primetime matchup. Miami gets their third sellout since, I believe, 2017, 2018, something like that. And yeah, it took 1-7 Florida State heading down to Miami to get those guys a sellout. So we're here to talk about it, guys. Jen is running a little bit late. It's year end and the kind of industry she's in, as I've explained to you guys before, the boss bitch that she is. She has stuff going on, so she'll be here just as soon as she can. She ain't ducking nobody. If you haven't seen the roast on Monday with her and Tiny Hat, make sure you go check that out. I did a show with James Coleman, a.k.a. Big Game James, over on his channel, Den Media Group. I believe that was Wednesday. So go check that conversation out. But while I wait on Jen to get here, I got a bet floating around out there against Miami. So, I got money on the line on this game. This bet was made a long time ago before the season. It's one of those things never would have made right now, but it is what it is. So coming to it as a fan and also being honest with what the product is here, I'll sell you the dream on the matchup of what could possibly happen. We'll do some predictions at the end of the show. I'll give you a score on what I think is going to happen. Haven't picked the game here in a couple weeks, given how crazy the season's been. But Miami's offense is number one in the country in a lot of statistical categories. We all know Florida State's defense is the one half decent unit they have, if you're not counting special teams. The defense has given us a chance to win some games. They've given up some big plays. They don't have a great ranking due to how bad of a position they put in. But Cam Ward historically will throw some picks, will thread a needle, maybe make a play sort of like Jameis Winston in 2014 that he shouldn't make. He also comes back in the fourth quarter and wins these games. He makes the plays that need to be made. And he's, got more passing yards and touchdowns, I think, than just about anybody in the country. A big Cam Ward fan, not disparaging him. But if with your 4, 5, 6 guys you got in the box, if you can keep him in the pocket, keeping him from just running it all day long in man coverage, Florida State has the DBs, to kind of match up with Miami and keep this thing close, especially early. The big question comes down to the offense. The offense versus their defense. And again, to give you a silver lining, a bright side from a Florida State perspective, Miami fans won't tell you their DBs are great. I was gotten to argue with them space over the offseason about defensive backs. And it's I was fair with them. I didn't think FSU was going to be what they were. But y'all have a legit argument at offensive line, linebacker, some of these different positions at Miami that has been developed and were better than Florida State, or could have had a chance to take a step to be better this year, especially with FSU losing what they lost. DB wasn't one of those. And that showed up this year. They've given up Miami, and it's one of the things that kind of irks me because, I get Miami's great and all, but let them go out there and earn it. There's a lot of comparing them to the 23 FSU team. I don't think it's close. Miami's given up, I think, 182 points through 7 games, almost 30 points a game. Florida State gave up 216 the entire year last year. And they still have 5 games left to play. So let's calm it down. There's an argument to be made. The offense is a little bit better than last year's Florida State offense. Maybe once Jordan Travis goes out, that's a real conversation to be had. But anyways, that's not the conversation. The conversation is how can a Florida State team overcome a 21-point advantage that Vegas has given Miami? How do they overcome that to win this game? And here's what's got to happen on the offense. They just got to catch the balls they've been dropping all year. But the point I'm trying to make is it can be done. If those 3 throws that Luke Kromenhoek throws gets caught, then you've got a chance to go out there and do something. Ultimately, whether we win the game, I'm going to save that for the end. But yeah, like if you're a Florida State fan, you're down in the dumps and you're having trouble trying to get hyped up for this thing, I get it. It's a tough ask. We are definitely a giant underdog in this game. But there are matchups. There are some good matchups there in this game for Florida State that they can take advantage of. Make some big plays. You go out there and you lose this game 45-3 or 52-10, something like that. Those are kind of seismic shifts in the rivalry. Those always cause things to happen. If you look back over the years, there's very few blowouts. Didn't happen against Clemson. Didn't happen against a couple of these other teams. Duke in the second half of that game, when they figured out Florida State's offense just was not going to get it together and they're just going to give it back to them, like they just stopped trying. They just were like running halfback dive into 8-man boxes sometimes, just 3 and outs and punting. I don't think Miami and Cam Ward has that in them at all. Was it Cristobal's first year was the 45-3 year? And he was asked about running the score up and he, whatever. He was real short. He was like, that's fine. I got no problem. It's our job to stop them. Who knows? In a couple years, maybe we'll switch shoes. And here we are. The title of the episode here is Another Streak on the Line. This is a fresh streak. I don't think you can call it a streak till you get 3 in a row. But lost in all this and kind of the confounding thing, like another one of the confounding reasons why nobody ever expect Florida State to be where they are. We're on a 3-game winning streak against Miami. When you got a team like you just lost to Duke, which you were on a 22-game winning streak against them. So that doesn't mean you can take this with a grain of salt. But when you've got a group of players that has been playing Miami, 3, 4, and 5 years, even though they haven't played up to their standard, they haven't done this and done that. This football team, similar to what you saw against Clemson, even though it was, a loss, we probably should have lost that Clemson game by a lot more, given the team we have this year. I think you can see a little bit of that against Miami. You got to hope. I've been saying this since like the beginning of the season, since we lost to Georgia Tech. Like, pray to the rivalry gods that the wins you do pick up are the big ones. If you could pull this out, it would be amazing. I can't even begin to tell you how far a win right here would go for this Florida State team as far as just morale, maybe the offense getting over, helping with the recruiting, all the different narratives. Guys, Jen just texted me. She said she's getting here as fast as she can. She will be here, so don't worry. She will make her appearance, I promise. If you have any questions, get them up in the chat. We may do a little call-in section a little bit later. You guys want to get on here, and if you got any questions, you just want to get something off your chest. But yeah, guys, not exactly how we were expecting to go into Miami week this year, with Miami undefeated, Florida State 1-7. But here we are. Again, another streak on the line. Real excited. I threw both the quarterbacks on the thumbnail. Interested what you guys think. I think we're going to see both quarterbacks again. I kind of hope Mike Norvell is a bit proactive. And again, I'm no head football coach, anything like that. This is just me talking on here. But when you saw Brock in that Duke game make the first 2 mistakes, like you could tell he was just absolutely rattled. The third mistake, when they throw Luke in, I thought, boom, this is the perfect time. You can maybe get momentum change, let Brock calm down, not get himself hurt. And that's kind of what happened. I'm curious how you guys feel. I know a lot of folks were kind of pissed off that they pulled Luke so soon and put Brock back in, but I kind of liked the decision. The kind of common theme for as long as college football has been going on, football in general, is, okay, you got 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. And going into a season, into camp, etc., I agree. And that's why we're in the situation we're in. The guy we went in to start the season let us down. He didn't do what we were expecting. So now we've got 2 quarterbacks instead of 1. In this situation, I don't want to call out specific teams, but I can remember specific situations with Jimbo Fisher and Urban Meyer in his times at Florida, Like, there are ways that you can use, even though you may have two talented quarterbacks that are both going to end up in the NFL at some time. Well, right now they're a freshman and a true freshman. You can play those guys to their strengths. I don't want guys getting ran out in the middle of a drive. I don't want, Brock to get us down to the end zone and, okay, now we're going to put Luke in. I'm not a big fan of that. But give Luke every other third drive, or just play it by ear. If Brock's on fire and you're kicking ass, of course, leave him in there. But, akin to that Clemson game, a turnover, okay, you don't necessarily have to pull him, but you start thinking, let's see where we can put Luke in. That second mistake, let's trot Luke out there. Okay, let's not wait for the third mistake. So we'll see what happens. If in a perfect world, Brock comes out and he plays well enough and we're playing with a lead the whole game, and that's where you go. I saw a comment. Somebody read my mind there. I try to hold off on this because I talk about it so much. But one of my kind of issues with the coaching staff, sure we'll get into that more when Jen gets on here. We start taking questions and things of that nature. There's a million different things you can criticize, whether it's the offensive line, receivers, tight ends, the entire offense, quarterback. You can name your position. You can criticize it. You can criticize the play calling, et cetera, et cetera. But if you actually go back and watch the tape of every single one of these games, on paper, on the field, what Mike Norvell is drawing up works. If the run blocks are made, the runs will go. If the balls are caught, I mean, there's guys running wide open. You've seen it all year. We've got 22 recorded drops. And guys, I know 22 sounds like a lot, but even you're like, okay, 3 or 4 a game, you should still be okay. You don't realize this is like errors in baseball. This is like you're 10 games into a baseball season and you got 40 or 50 errors. Like, I know most people, if you're not a baseball person, that means nothing to you. But this shit is unheard of. Like, there's so many drops that don't go as drops. Any kind of contested, a DB anywhere close gets his hand, those aren't going to be drops. It has to be a clear and cut, hits you in the hands and you dropped it issue. So to have 22 drops on the record is nuts. So all those things are true. But my issue is, okay, we know all these things. Sort of like with tight end, you finally figured out we got to give the freshman the chance. DJU goes down, we got to put in Brock now. We got no other choice. I don't understand why you have a redshirt freshman, senior, or he might just be a fifth-year senior due to COVID. I get confused on these things. Lawrence Toafili, he was the MVP of your ACC championship game, had like 10 carries for 100-something yards, a bunch of receiving yards, a lot of that stuff out of the Wildcat with no quarterback on the field, but the entire defense is focused on him. I don't understand why they don't lean on him more. You got so many guys dropping passes, fumbling, doing these things. And you open that game up last week, he carries it for 10 yards. Then he has a screen for 17 yards. I don't know if he got beat up on the screen or what, but then you don't see him for 2 or 3 series. And then you're in a terrible leverage situation where you've been on a stinker of offense and he gets 2 carries up the gut that don't do anything. He doesn't lose yards. They aren't great plays, but he's a running back. He needs more opportunities, and then he just doesn't get them again for 2 or 3 drives. And then you go another drive where you open it up and you actually run it with him on first down, and he gets 6 yards and he gets like a 10-yard play. You hit a pass, you get down in the red zone, bam, he's off the field again. So he's on the field for 50 snaps, only gets 9 runs. I would like to see, when you have nobody on the team who can do anything right, the mistakes are coming from everywhere. Why not consistently put it in the hands of a guy that you can trust? So, yeah, I would like to see, and it's a shame because it took Roydell Williams going down for them to give it to him earlier in the year when he had like 16 and 17 carries and when she rushed it pretty well. It took that to get his rushes, and he's still averaging over 4 yards a carry, but begging for carries. I don't understand it. So now Cam Davis is down, who had 6 more carries than him in the game. Had the fumble that kind of ended it after the defense gave up the big long run. They're going to be forced to rely on Toafili now, so we can only hope he doesn't go down. Because if he goes down, that's trouble. Sam Singleton on special teams really showed me something. Like, he's got a wiggle there on special teams, but I don't know if he's there yet at running back. It hasn't. You always hear about it slowing down, the game slowing down. Running back is obviously the easiest position to step into, but like, there's a little bit of, you can get handed the ball as a running back and just close your eyes and run forward, get a couple yards, see the hole, like if the hole's right in front of you and you get lucky and you catch it, like a Cam Davis when you're that size. I'm not saying that's who he is, but the game slows down for you at a certain point, and you're able to see things, hit holes, and things of that nature. And to me, Lawrence Toafili at this point is the better option. I get in short yardage downs, halfback dives if you just want to ram it. But yeah, I think let's shrink the rotation and give it to the guy who's making the catches. They figured that out on offense a little bit. They tried to do that with Landon Thomas, shrunk Morlock's role. Morlock dined in a reduced role. Seniors Malik Benson and Kentron Portier, they've got to come down on the totem pole. Now, to play the devil's advocate of myself, like to kind of speak for Mike and Ron Dugan's, like, okay, you think it's bad now? These guys are dropping it, and we've got these senior wide receivers out here, a redshirt sophomore like Hakeem Williams. We've got these guys out here, and they're dropping it. What's it going to look like when we throw the true freshmen out there, and they're not even in the right spot? You're going to get a bunch of these picks where it looks like the quarterback threw it to nobody. Well, the wide receiver ran a comeback, and it was supposed to be a post. So I can get that, but at some point in time, you've got to shrink it down, forget it, figure it out, whatever you got to do. And you can kind of feel it from the media. I think it's funny. It's like they force Mike to talk about Elijah Moore and LaWayne McCoy pretty much after every practice. So you get all these quotes from Mike Norvell and all these stories from different sources about how good this guy's doing and that guy's doing and pushing the free them youngins movement. But when you hear Mike talk, it's just like, what is he going to say? For freshmen, they're doing good. They're coming along. We're looking for the consistency. 8-9 weeks in, that starts to fall on deaf ears when you've consistently seen seniors and your other starter have bricks for hands and drop everything. Like, what could happen worse? I guess that's the dare that the fans are sending to Mike Norvell. We're going to see. Who knows? The good thing is the closer you get to the end of the year, the more prepared these young guys should be, the more we should see them. And I truly believe we will see them more. Luke, man, talk about him for a second. Woo! You really saw some special stuff from him. You saw a flash of a kind of level of quarterback you haven't had at Florida State since Jameis Winston. I'm not saying that he showed that anything better than what Jordan Travis did as far as a complete quarterback, but as far as arm talent and just throwing the ball across the field, I mean, he made 3 legitimate NFL throws to those wide receivers that they put on the deck. So really love what I saw of Luke in his first action. I'd have to guess they don't play him in more than 4 games, and he gets his red shirt. I know there's rumors out there, a lot of people claiming to this and that about Luke leaving. I would be extremely surprised, kind of regardless of what happens, if Luke would be a guy to transfer out in a possible red shirt year. Here's a guy who didn't start for his dad at his high school until his junior year. He's playing DB safety at a pretty high level as a freshman and sophomore. I think he might even play a little bit his junior year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there's no chance in hell. Well, I guess you can't say that nowadays. You never know. If something happens, if you get blown out by Miami and boosters go crazy and somehow Mike Norvell does get fired, then maybe there's a chance. But we've went over that a ton here. We don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, man, back to the sellout. How about the Miami Hurricanes? I see all you guys in here. I'll shout out some of the people in the chat. We got Von Meyer Jr., Ayer Rao, my guy, R. Wilmer, Jim Ike. I know I seen Category 5. We got Yanni. Man, y'all are talking so much. Base Jiren in the house as usual. Congratulations, though, to the Miami fans for getting the sellout. If there's one thing Florida State can do right, we can at least put some butts in the seats for you guys down there. I don't know. Did you guys see the coaching wire rumors? I'm ready for Jen to get on here because I know she knows she's got a lot of connections in these coaching streets. But we're on the street seeing a couple articles. Urban Meyer coming to Florida State. Could you guys imagine that? Oh, man. I promise I haven't heard anything about it. I just seen a couple of those articles. Y'all will have to tell me. I don't know if there's so many fake articles where they just come up with X player passed away or this player got a DUI. It's completely fabricated. But yeah, my Google feed for the past 2 days has been all about Urban Meyer at Florida State. I saw a recent interview with him where they were kind of buttering him up, getting him nostalgic about his time at UF. in Ohio State, but specifically back to UF and kind of when they were struggling at that particular time. And he was pretty much like, no way in hell would we ever do that again. I'm not sure if he was saying college football or the UF situation. Definitely two different situations between UF and FSU. But I don't know. If I'm being 100% honest, would I take Urban Meyer? Like if somebody said, okay, here, George, here's $100 million, 65 of it goes to Mike Norvell and the other 35 goes to Urban Meyer for 3 years to try to do something in this new portal. Error. Yeah, I'm taking that because, I mean, it is what it is. I love you, Mike. But it's just one of those what if things. A guy with all those championships, it's a changing time and all that. But man, it's hard not to imagine what Urban Meyer could come in and do from a transfer portal and recruiting situation. He's a Gator, all that shit. Wouldn't be the ideal thing, but that'd be something you'd have to really stop and think about. Do I think it ever happens? No, hell no, hell no. I don't think it happens. I think those are all just jokes. I know seen people talking about Dion rumors as well. I doubt those as well. I will say that Joker, he's still recruiting. We know he doesn't go on visits or whatever, but he's still attempting to put together a top class. They're playing pretty good. But man, I highly doubt, as I've said forever, it's so hard for me to see Dion come back after this year, losing Travis Hunter, losing his quarterback, and committing to college football. I could be totally wrong. Maybe he finishes out his contract at Colorado. Maybe Florida State hires him. I'll believe it when I see it. Just doesn't see that. Just doesn't seem that way to me. I don't even know if this is worth mentioning, but I saw something about it today. Apparently, the ACC has put in a request for a 180-day extension on the FSU versus ACC lawsuit. The latest, how do I word this? The latest motion for summary judgment that Florida State entered. They're asking for a 180-day extension on it. I'm not going to get into too much crazy detail. Everybody that watches the show knows that this court case has just at every turn kind of the perfect thing to happen for this thing to get lengthened and get pushed down the road has happened. We're pretty much at a stalemate with kind of opposite situations in North Carolina and in Florida. You got one judge retiring. It's all kind of messy. And as I've hammered you guys over and over and over again, and what I'll hammer to you again right now so you guys understand, February 1st is the deadline for ESPN to decide to extend their contract with the ACC through 2037. It currently ends at 2027, I believe would be the final year, 27 or 26. I believe it's 27. Originally, in their original contract, it stated that ESPN had up until 2 years after the launch of the ACC network in order to make this decision on whether to add that 9 years on the back of this contract. Well, when that time came, they kicked it down the road 4 years to now, to what will be February 1st, 2024, instead of 2 years after the ACC network which would have been 2021. So that time has passed, and here we are. So let's say they get their 180-day extension. That pushes it way past February. There's no chance in hell any of these lawsuits, the ones in North Carolina, Florida, the appellate courts, or anything like that, are getting solved or getting to any, crazy, massive revelation coming out in discovery that just flips this on its head. There's no way. Okay. And that's something that we figured out. There was a chance at the beginning. We thought maybe something could come out in discovery that forced these guys to sit down. They've already did the mandatory, I can't even remember what you call it. Not an arbitration. They just sat down and negotiated basically with no specific goals or deadline. They just had a deadline to begin. They've already done that. Nothing came of it. We didn't expect it to. And at this point, even if you see us do a show, still come and watch. But I'm here to tell you, but between now and February 1st, I don't think much of anything that's going to happen in the courts is going to matter. We can get Doug on here maybe next week and ask him about this. But it all comes down to February 1st. What is ESPN going to decide to do? It's all on ESPN's shoulders because ESPN has to decide to either extend the ACC through 2036 or not. And I just don't understand how possibly they could, even with FSU and Clemson, if ACC can figure out some way to sucker them in, get a giant buyout fee when they do leave. Like, what is the product for ACC going to be like? What is the product this year with FSU down? They're still in the top 3, top 4 in viewing. Like, they're still selling out Miami the one time they do all year when they go to town. Like, it's crazy. Like, I was talking about Colorado a minute ago. That hype is that washed out. Last year, everybody said, oh, it's because they stopped winning. Well, no, they're still a winning team. They're playing damn good ball. And 2 million's where they're topping out against Arizona, one of the other big power teams in that mostly G5 Big 12 conference. We got a lot of shit wrong on this channel. One of the things that I got right is what I kept telling you about the craziness and the just complete out of touch. Some of these people were talking about Big 12 being a P4 and ACC could possibly be a P4. No, guys, it's the SEC and the Big 10, and it's not close. And the ACC, as it's comprised with FSU, Clemson, and Miami, is still miles and miles ahead of what the Big 12 is kind of right now. So why would ESPN, why are they going to continue to give more and more money to the ACC every single year? I just don't see it. It's going kind of in one direction. And the fact that there's open litigation with FSU and Clemson trying to get out of the conference, especially FSU, they're hell bent to get out of the conference. Like, what are the advantages to ESPN signing that thing and extending it? Let's get them locked in. Like, you've seen it. There's been like 8, 10 SEC games on the primetime ABC slot and like 1, maybe 2 for the ACC. And it's 90% FSU in the primetime games. And we're 1-7 and we're leaving. So sorry to be long-winded there, but Jeff Hill with the super chat, $10 super chat. I'm not ready to give up on Norvell. It's terrible this season. I don't think he forgot how to coach after 1 year. Can't have another season like this or that seat gets real hot. I hear you, Jeff, and I appreciate you. That's a song I've been singing all year, and I'm with you. But, if you're going to be honest, if you're going to be not emotionally attached, pretend like you're somebody out of Harvard that Florida just hired to be in their athletic department, and you look at it, okay, we had COVID. That was terrible. That sucked. We went 3-6. 2021 sucked, but you saw the come up. You only won 5 games. 2022, you thought you were going to be a little better, honestly, but you still won 10 games. You really lost some games that you should have never lost. No big deal. You had the amazing season last year. You crash back harder and even worse than where you were at when he entered in that whole COVID nightmare. It's tough. You can also step back and see that this is a fruit that is bared from 2020 through 2022 in those recruiting classes when you did have your hands tied and things were messed up. But it hasn't happened yet. There hasn't been the moment, the complete loss of the team or just complete, anarchy out there. That moment hasn't happened yet. Who knows? If something terrible happens against Miami and you just get absolutely historically stomped, it could. But right now, that buyout looms large. And, at the end of the day, with the caveat of having, 3 bad seasons and only 2 good ones, you've also had one of these 4 single most best seasons in FSU history. I mean, you went 13-0, undefeated, won the conference. Like, that's only been done 3 other times. So it is what it is. You have to weigh the pros and the cons. You went through this year. I have 100% confidence Norvell can get it back together, bring 40, 50 guys in here, compete in 25, and then go for a championship in 26. But what you have to fix is never getting here again. They're going to have to wipe out some coaches. Like, this is Florida State. If you're working for a program that this doesn't happen in, you thought you were there. Okay, you had a setback. Not as bad as some others. Worse than like Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. Not Chip Kelly. The asshole at LSU now. When he was at Notre Dame, same thing. He won a bunch of games, then went 4-8 in year 5 or year 6. So there's precedent there for him to bounce back, and he's going to get a chance to replace the staff. I think the offensive staff is pretty much done for. The majority of them, and at least 2 guys on the defensive staff to get recruiting going back. Base Deering comes through with the $5 super chat. Florida State is being put on primetime to embarrass them publicly. This game has no business being primetime. You can say what you want, but they were going to be there. Like, it's either one or the other. We're loved or hated. You're either watching to see us upset Miami, you're watching to be hated, you're watching to be loved. Like, it's all the same thing. You can't separate them. Just as many people hate LeBron as love him. That's just the name of the game. It is what it is. They're not used to seeing FSU incompetent. So you see that for a couple years, and Florida State bounces back, and then we're right back here. Holy shit. But make no mistake, if Florida State was undefeated, we'd still be selling out Miami Stadium, and we'd probably be on AC, the top game of the entire day, had that happen. Sorry guys, I got a call there. I don't know if that cut out or not, but yeah, it is what it is. Screw it. We're still waiting on Jen to come in here. Got us a couple super chats. We appreciate those. I'm gonna go ahead and put the link in the comments, and if you guys want, we don't have a actual call in at this point in time, but I will throw you up there. I'm gonna lock the camera just because you never know who could get up. But from here until Jen is able to join us, we'll do a call in segment. Whatever. If you want to get something off your chest, you got any questions, now's the time to speak now, kind of, or forever hold your peace, but we'll give you the opportunity. Honestly, that link is probably going to disappear, so I'm not sure how this is going to work. I don't know if you guys will be able to copy that, paste that or not. It looks like it's staying in the chat. But yeah, man, fuck Miami, fuck Miami. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing. If Florida State does pull this out or get some big call, especially if it's late in the game, I had some Miami fans hold their nose up and look down on Texas fans saying, "Oh my goodness, we would never, I can't, I get complaining and talking crap and fighting in the stands and everything else, but throwing stuff on the field, unbelievable." Like some damn nasty Florida State fans. Come on. I'm telling you right now, let Florida State win this game, get some big call, even be close in the fourth quarter. Some call goes against Miami. If there was a line for things getting thrown on the field, I'd love to see that live line, because you guys don't have room to talk on that. I wouldn't even talk shit about that as a Florida State fan, because I know it's happened a time or two. But I know Miami, I know you guys have done that shit a lot more. Base here and says, "I'm actually hoping this game comes down to a big call so I can get a big laugh." You won't be laughing if it goes our way. I doubt it will go our way. I'm not going to be trying to get into conspiracy theories here, but yeah, pretty obvious that Miami's been getting the calls this year. I'm not trying to talk shit on y'all or give an excuse to lose the game. Look, if you're the ACC, Miami is kind of your best case scenario, hands down. If it happens once, twice, the third, the fourth time, specifically the in-game scenarios where you have these gaps for reviews and guys coming together, and all of a sudden a play you've seen a million times go this way goes the opposite way, y'all are just gonna have to deal with that shit, man. The ACC, either y'all are unlucky, and just I don't know, falling into the craziest situations, and getting the benefit of the doubt. I don't know if the ACC refs are so bad that it makes it look like a conspiracy. I wouldn't rule that out. But I got to tell you guys, and I know it's hard for you guys to defend. I know a lot of y'all, at least half of y'all, have to be like, "Yep, I appreciate it, but I ain't gonna talk shit. I'll take it," because it's pretty uncanny, some of the crazy calls y'all got. And you looking back in the history, all the calls that Florida State got that were questionable and gave Miami a chance, or lost FSU the game, and vice versa in this series. There's been questionable calls on both sides. This season's just been kind of wild. So to see that get reversed on y'all, that would disprove all the conspiracy theories right there. Florida State got some great call to win the game. So y'all would have one. Yeah, we told y'all that we didn't have them on the payroll. Yeah, well, I bet you wish you did. But I think Jen just dropped the news. She is not actually going to be making it. So she had something going on that she couldn't get away from work. But y'all cut them some slack. Deshawn has had his son's football game. And look, guys, it is what it is, man. We got a big game coming up tomorrow. If we can win that thing, I'm going to be on here talking so much, telling so many lies. But it is what it is. I'll go ahead and give a prediction. Miami is favored by 21 points. 29 outside of the SMU game is the most FSU's given up, but it's going to be really hard not to give up 30. Give me 34-27 Miami. I'm going to do that in the hopes of some reverse psychology and Florida State coming and win this because I've got every game wrong at the beginning of the year. I was trying to just stick with my prediction. So there you go. You heard it here, 34-7 Miami, with the hopes that Florida State, the rivalry gods, can come out. They can make up that 7 points with a kickoff return. And again, as I said at the beginning of the show, these wide receivers can start catching the ball at any point in time. And I don't have every defense we played all year in front of me, but this Miami secondary, it's out there. It's out there. It doesn't look like we have any questions coming in. Guys, we usually go a little bit longer, but outside of sitting here and starting to shit all over the team and everything else, we don't have any guests. We don't have anything planned. Doesn't like anybody has any questions. Probably about to get over here in a minute, but I will look through the comments here a little bit, see if anybody has anything before we get out of here. Based year and no, Midtown, no, it's not happening. If that does happen, if it is 63-3 or 69-0, yeah. Oh man, it'll be tough, but yeah, I don't see that happening. If that happens, people are starting to start GoFundMe's and everything else. Midtown, what are you talking about, dude? Last year, FSU was undefeated, and y'all weren't even in the playoff. This is like, what don't you understand about this? Y'all are the ACC's flag bearer this year. Last year, that was not who y'all were. And I never said they were like always for Miami. Like, as I said earlier, it's been back and forth. This year, Florida State shit the bed, right? First game, loses to Georgia Tech. Clemson, first game, blown out by Georgia. And y'all beat Florida. Like, I mean, it was very clear early on it was either going to be you guys or nobody to have a kind of top 4 team legitimately and not just get placed there for an ACC title. If y'all lose a game, Pitt loses a game, like, you're going to get the ACC champion, and then that's it. If anybody could go to the ACC championship and lose and have a chance to get in the title game, it would be Miami. But even y'all, there's a chance y'all get left out. It is what it is. Call it sour milk or whatever, but go look where Florida State was ranked at this time in the season and how long it took for a one-loss team to pass up FSU. It took to literally the entire season. The fact that they're willy-nilly throwing 3 one-loss teams ahead of y'all now, like, once you have a loss, then where do they – that says right there, as soon as ACC has 1 loss, as soon as Miami has 1 loss, all those SEC and Big Ten teams with 2 losses, why wouldn't they put them over you at that point? And it's the same thing for Clemson or anybody else. The one thing Clemson has in their bag is they do have a quality SEC loss. That's their loss. So if they win out, say Clemson wins out and then they beat Miami in the ACC championship, that's like the one scenario I could see you getting 2 ACC teams in. Other than that, it's going to be hard. And moving forward, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Just because the conference, whether anybody wants to admit it, adding 3 teams, SMU, Cal, and Stanford, greatly diluted the conference. Greatly. Predictions. Do you see Mike adding purely recruiters? There's no reason why Miami should be able to out-recruit us, being asked when we was good, that is, and wasn't. So, yeah, no, not pure recruiters, but some younger guys. Yeah, hell yeah. You've got to make some big-time changes. I think now coaching is more important than ever. like the biggest part of this, like obviously recruiting, but to some degree, part of coaching is knowing what you have, evaluating your actual roster. Like these guys on the offensive line, we recruited these fuckers 5 years ago, most of them. It's 13,000 snaps or something. We're finally seeing a young Jalen Early. He's one of the best graded out guys on the entire year. He's really getting better and better. You're seeing Landon Tavis in one game, double and triple and infinitely increase his stats over what Morlock had his entire career. So you're seeing those things. Yeah, a mix. Definitely lean more coaching or lean more recruiting than what we have now. The problem is what we have now that was supposed to be quote unquote coaching gurus ain't getting it done. And you can say, the coach can't go out there and catch it. And to a certain extent, that's absolutely true. But it was all these coaches, this whole staff that they thought these guys could catch. Like, okay, well, the two fifth-year senior wide receivers ain't getting it done. The media's calling for free them youngins, but y'all really don't want true freshmen out there. Okay, well, where are all the sophomores and the juniors and the regular seniors? Where are they? How come there's nobody coming through the pipeline? People acted like Florida State got a bunch of mercenaries and did this and that, and that's how they were good in 2023. That ain't what it is. Like they built up through the portal. How did people do in the high school classes? They had dudes from 19, 20, 21, 20, but they all left. All the best players that you had built up over 5 years, they all left at once. And you did not replace them. You overread your hand. The guys that were behind them that were supposed to step up. You believed in your offensive line. You were fooled by what, and I was big on talking about this early in his career, especially like just the stress Jordan Travis put on defensive lines as quarterback, just the act of snapping it to him was such a huge help for that offensive line. And that's why it's been so the offense was so much different when a Brock would have to come in or going back to the beginning of it at any time in Jordan Travis's career. We just thought the offensive line had just developed to a level, seeing the ACC championship game, and knowing that even though a bunch of them didn't play in the bowl game, they're all coming back. It fell on its face. So I'm a big fan of the Marion guy that everybody wants from UNLV. I just use that as an example, but you never know what's going to happen really till it gets down to the nitty gritty. Folks start firing people start leaving. That's when you'll start to see who's available, who FSU can get. Jimmy Sexton, you'll get a source to talk to Jimmy Sexton, and you'll get some ideas of what's really going on. We're a long ways from that, but as a kind of a structure, a way that they could fix the offense, in my opinion, you bring in Marion from UNLV, make him the offensive coordinator. Okay, we're going to let him call plays. We're going to make this change in the philosophy of the program. Mike Norvell is going to move to more of a CEO situation. I'm sure he'll still have his hands on wide receivers and things of that nature. Then you got a decision to make with Tony Tokars. I'm guessing that's going to heavily depend on how Luke and Brock do the rest of the year. Ron Dugans is probably out. I don't see how in a million years a guy comes in and inherits a guy, that kind of in that offense. It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense to take the time to teach Ron Dugans. You go out and get a guy for that. Alex Atkins is the big bugaboo. He's got the 4 guys committed, 2 4-stars, a 5-star, best offensive line class we've had in years. You add another guy and you're liable. You might be that top 5 offensive line class that we talked about in the preseason. So in my opinion, the most important thing for this program going forward is to get a good offensive line class in here between high school and portals to start building something for a future. Build a foundation so 3 years from now, we're mashing folks. We're not in the situation we are now. So you have to weigh getting rid of him for, lack of development, recruiting, whatever you want to do. If you get rid of him, you're never going to pull in that top offensive line class. It's not the type of thing you can salvage in these little short recruiting classes, or if you get a coach in after December 4th, then you try to put something together by February 3rd or whatever the new signing day is. Just ain't going to happen. So to me, there's a great opportunity to bring Marion in as the offensive coordinator, call him the passing game coordinator, something like that. Let Alex slide down to offensive line coach, run game coordinator. You could even bring in another offensive line coach. Get rid of the tight ends coach, call one a tight ends coach. Like there's so many things you can do. I'm fine with Yak. He can stay. But if old dude wants to bring a running backs coach in, like I don't see like I wouldn't be disillusioned with him letting go of Yak. So we're gonna see. It's hard to see anybody but Atkins staying, and I get most people say, "Well, Atkins is on top of my list to leave." Well, he's FSU's #1 recruiter. If you look at all the rankings by a mile right now, so be careful what you wish for there. It's all tough shit. I don't want to get too negative. Fuck Miami, you guys suck. Y'all are the worst fans in college football. Y'all still ain't shit. Y'all are probably like a 30th. I'll give you like 22nd, 23rd best team in the country if I had to guess. Y'all just don't fucking play nobody. Y'all ain't playing nobody the rest of the year. But I will, y'all are a little bit better than us this year, but you never know what happens in those rivalry games. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. After this game, it's going to go one or two ways. No, it's either going to be I'm on here telling all the lies. I might get drunk, even though I don't drink, have a little stogie rolled up. Who knows? We may be just having a craziest post-game show ever, and all the lies moving forward, getting ready to beat Notre Dame in Florida, or it may be a funeral. It may be just me coming on here crying. I may do like the ring, throw my fucking hair down all over my face. I'm like, I don't know, but we love you guys. I'm gonna get out of here at 46 minutes. Don't want to get on the negative shit too much tonight. It is what it is. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us as always. And I will be back here for the instant reaction podcast as soon as the game's over. If it's super bad, we'll get started in the fourth quarter. Maybe some of the guys and gals can join me. But yeah, go Knowles. And we'll listen to the Undertaker and call it a day.